Okay, so we are onto stereo width. I enjoy stereo width because when you get it right, it sounds awesome. Stereo width is, because we have two ears, audio engineers way back when thought, you know what, we should probably take advantage of this, and instead of playing just music out of a speaker in mono, we could have two speakers and they play slightly different things. And so this is essentially what stereo is. Mono is one sound coming from one speaker, and stereo is two. Okay, so stereo width takes advantage of this, and you want to be doing different things in different pitches. So the kick, we're not going to be moving the kick all the way to the left channel because that sounds silly, or the right channel. We're going to keep it right in the middle because that's where it has the most punch. So it's coming out of the left and the right speakers at the same volume. So our ears and our brains make us believe that it's coming from the middle. Okay, so it's centered. For really important things like the kick and really important things like the bass, i.e. the lower things. Humans don't generally hear things that are lower from a direction as well. So if you hear a pitch that's like from an elephant, and the elephant is 3 kilometers away, and the elephant's doing that super low grumble kind of thing, you probably won't know where it's coming from. As opposed to if you hear someone call out on a more human kind of level, or like a screech from a bird or something, you probably have a pretty good idea of where it's coming from. And so essentially audio engineers know this, and so because of that they put the kick and the bass right in the middle. Because if you do things like this, it doesn't sound very good. So you want to keep those right in the middle. Okay. The higher stuff, on the other hand, not the low grumbly sounds, the things like drums, definitely. I'm going to get rid of this bass operator. If you're using it, keep using it, but it's just a bit confusing. So the stuff like the drums, at the moment these drums are all in the middle. Now, I don't think that's going so well in the middle, so that's our hi-hat. I'm going to move that maybe just a little bit, maybe like 5, just to the left. Now what's this one here? Okay, so that's just a little bit of ear candy, so maybe let's put that like way over here, so we just go, whoa, what was that sound far to the right? Maybe a little more. Let's hear the two at the same time. See how different it is? How the little bongo's coming from the right side. What's this one? That's a little doink, which I really don't like, but anyway, we'll leave it in. It's too loud, so let's turn it down. I think probably the other side. So you try and have a bit of a balance, otherwise you have, one headphone that has, all the percussion and it's a bit louder, which you want to keep the stereo balanced. Yeah, still softer. Cool. And what's our other sound? Do we have a fourth one? Oh yeah, this thing. Nope, we don't have a fourth sound. Let's get rid of it just to avoid confusion. Oh, that was our snare, I think. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, important stuff goes in the middle. So the kick is really important. The bass is really important. The clap is also really important. Other stuff that's like higher up, which is just kind of adds sparkle, or gives drive to the piece in in a bit of a lighter way, like a hi-hat. You can change around. You can pan that left or pan that right. But yeah, you want to leave the really important stuff in the middle. Otherwise, it just kind of it just sounds a little bit silly. It doesn't sound quite right. I'm going to press Tab, and then I'm going to go to this view here. Now, it's really useful to do your panning instead of using a drum rack. Or if we put it out like this, it means we can see, what's being panned where. And I apologize. I should have been labeling as I go, because it's a little bit messy now. Well, learn by example. Label as you go, otherwise, yeah, when you get to the mixing and things, it can be quite confusing. Actually, you know what? Let's do it now. What's that? Hi-hat. That is bongo. And that must be the boing thing. It's a technical term. And the clap is already labeled. Cool. Alright, we're back in business. So yeah, that's essentially the way to go with stereo width. Now that's stereo width for percussion, leaving the important things in the middle and then panning out the others. When you're getting into choosing sounds, like for example the melody, you don't want to be choosing sounds which the stereo field has already occupied. So this plucky kind of a sound, what we can do is put a utility on this, and if we leave it at 100%, it does nothing. If we put it to 0, it means that we are now in mono, or at least this sound is now in mono. So let's listen to that. So it hasn't actually changed that much. Let's put it to stereo. And that's changed a lot. So that's basically what you're hearing in the side of your headphones, and that's what you're hearing, right in the middle. What's the same on each headphone, and then what's different in each headphone. So when you're choosing sounds, let's have a bit of a visual representation of this, because it's a bit tricky to get your head around. Now, where is it? Stereo tool. This is another freebie. Just Google stereo tool, you'll find it. So you get a bit of a visual there. I'm going to turn off the reverb so you get a really good idea of the where this individual sound is actually sitting. So have a look at the quality of that sound. It's kind of it's quite wide, isn't it? It's quite wide. But it's, you can certainly go wider than that with like some saw leads and things. I'm just gonna duplicate our melody so we can, and put a question mark. That's a good habit to get into. If you're wanting to explore sounds that you already have, duplicate them, put a question mark on them, and that way if you go, oh no, I shouldn't have done that, now I've lost my great sound, do it on your question mark one, and then if you want to go back, then you can easily. So, good tip. So let's have a look at some different sounds and see how they come up in the stereo tool. So that one is obviously right down the middle. So if we're wanting to combine, say, the first sound, they're both in the middle, so it's probably not going to work very well. So that one there, is right down the middle. So I guess if we combine that one there with another really wide one, oh, that sounds so good. So this one's super wide, and this one here is super right down the middle. Need some reverb. So let's hear the two together. So what we've done there is we've added two sounds together that they combine each other. So this one here, let's just call it, what should we call it? Lead center. And this one lead, excuse me, and this one lead wide. They complement each other because this one takes up the middle of the stereo field, and this one takes up the the wider parts of it. So combining them together, they sound really big, and it sounds good. It sounds louder without actually being louder. We can even accentuate this by increasing their width. So have a listen to this. So maybe let's just add like 3.5 dB of width, and then let's make this lead center even more centered. Now let's have a listen to that. So what we've done is we've carved out spots for each sound. So there's a skinny sound, and then there's a sound that's taking up the sides, and it sounds much bigger. This is the core of producing electronic music. You have to pick your sounds well, and if you don't pick your sounds well, then this kind of stuff, the stereo width is going to be really difficult to manage later on. So when you're picking your sounds, it's handy to have a stereo tool up. And making sure that if these two sounds are playing at the same time, make sure that one is sitting in the sides and one is sitting in the middle. Okay, it's really, really, really important to do that. That's how all the great producers get these huge, big sounds. They're constantly thinking about where the sounds are. They're on the sides, are they in the middle? As well as, if you put, even though this is a centered one, if you put on a delay, and a delay that's wide, and turn this, stop that from making the whole lot skinny. Then your skinny sound has now become a wide sound. Okay, so there's lots and lots of different things that you can do to play with the stereo field, and it's very enjoyable when you get it right, but it is challenging, and it takes a while to get your head around that. But choosing sounds that sit in the spot that you are thinking of in the stereo field is very, very important. So you get that nice big sound when you want it, and then also you want to have contrast. So you don't always want a big sound. So you're when you want to as well, then you can leave, say, the sides free, or leave the center free for a particular moment in the piece of music to a transition or something like that. So there we go. That is stereo width.